It rewards control, and control belongs to the one who never breaks rhythm. Chapter 1: The Psychology of Invisible Chains, Establishing Absolute Reliability. Power is rarely loud. It does not shout. It does not threaten. It does not beg. It calculates. In competitive environments, most people lose before the real fight begins. Not because they lack intelligence. Not because they lack skill. They lose because they are inconsistent. Inconsistency breeds doubt. Doubt invites scrutiny. Scrutiny kills leverage. If you want dominance, you must first remove doubt from the equation. This is where the 99.9% rule begins. The 99.9% execution rule. Perfection is a myth, but near perfection is a weapon. When your execution rate approaches 99.9%, something shifts. People stop watching you. They start depending on you. That difference is everything. At 90%, you are competent. At 95%, you are impressive. At 99.9%, you become structural. Structural means you are no longer an option. You are part of the framework. Decision makers factor you in automatically. Stakeholders assume you will deliver. Deadlines become statements, not suggestions. This is not about being liked. It is about being predictable. Predictability reduces fear. And when fear is removed, resistance weakens. Invisible chains. You do not dominate by force. You dominate by becoming indispensable. The moment people reorganize their expectations around your reliability, you have influence. The moment they stop building backup plans for your failure, you have control. They may not notice it happening, but it happens. Every time you deliver without noise. Every time you anticipate a problem before it surfaces. Every time you close a loop others forget exists. You tighten the chain. Not around their freedom, around their uncertainty. And uncertainty is what drives defensive behavior. Remove it and you remove resistance. Deadline control, owning time as territory. Time is the most contested resource in competitive arenas. Most people react to deadlines. They sprint at the last second. They apologize. They explain. You do none of that. You treat deadlines as territory. You set them carefully. You protect them aggressively. You move early when necessary. You communicate before questions arise. You surface risks before they become visible. You neutralize chaos before it touches you. This is proactive dominance. When others operate in panic, and you operate in rhythm, perception tilts in your favor. Calm execution under pressure creates psychological contrast. Contrast creates authority. Authority creates leverage. The cost of the 0.1%. The smallest breach in reliability has consequences most people underestimate. One missed deadline does not just delay a task. Plants doubt, and doubt spreads fast. Once doubt enters the room, people reevaluate you. They add oversight. They reduce autonomy. They protect themselves from you. That is how power erodes. The disciplined operator understands that the 0.1% is not minor. It is strategic. You guard it. You build systems so your mood cannot sabotage your commitments. You document promises. You track dependencies. You create redundancy where failure is unacceptable. Emotion is unstable. Structure is not. Dominance requires structure. Reliability as psychological pressure. Here is the darker truth. When you become relentlessly reliable, you create pressure without saying a word. Others feel it. Your consistency exposes their inconsistency. Your discipline highlights their laziness. Your precision magnifies their chaos. You do not need to criticize. Your performance does it for you. And in competitive spaces, quiet pressure is more effective than open aggression, because it forces comparison. Comparison reshapes hierarchy. Control without announcement. The most dangerous competitors are not the loudest. They are the ones who never slip. They do not overpromise. They do not dramatize. They do not seek validation. They execute. Over time, this builds something stronger than charisma. It builds inevitability. When your execution becomes inevitable, people stop questioning outcomes. They assume success before it happens. That assumption shifts negotiations. It shifts opportunity flow. It shifts access, all without confrontation, the foundation of dominance. Before strategy, before persuasion, before scaling, there is one prerequisite: absolute reliability. If you cannot control your commitments, you cannot control markets. If you cannot own your deadlines, you cannot own territory. If you cannot eliminate doubt around your name, you cannot command alignment. Dominance is not an event. It is a pattern, and patterns are built one delivery at a time. Establish the rhythm. Protect the rhythm. Never break the rhythm. Everything else comes after. Chapter 2: Cognitive Alignment, the Art of Technical Narrative Design. Most people think winning is about having the best solution. It's not. It's about getting your solution accepted inside someone else's head. That's what technical narrative design really is: controlled perception. You don't just explain. You install a frame so clean and familiar that the evaluator feels like they discovered your logic on their own. This chapter is about that installation process. And it starts with a number that tells the truth when ego won't. The technical pass rate, 79.1%. The 79.1% reality check. A 79.1% technical pass rate is not a flex. It's a warning. It means most of your work is almost good enough, which is the worst category to live in because almost still gets you rejected, still gets you forgotten, still gets you replaced. Technical evaluators don't reject you because they hate you. They reject you because your narrative forces them to do extra work. And evaluators don't do extra work. They punish it. Your job is not to prove you're smart. Your job is to make the evaluator feel safe saying yes. That safety is built through alignment. Cognitive alignment. The real battlefield. Cognitive alignment is when your proposal matches the evaluator's mental shape so closely that it feels inevitable. Not persuasive. Not impressive. Inevitable. When alignment is perfect, the evaluator stops asking, "Is this credible? Will this work? What's missing?" and starts asking, "How fast can we move? What's the contract mechanism? What's the cleanest path to approval?" That shift is the moment you move from competitor to frontrunner. Compliance mapping, mirror the judge, not the crowd. Most proposals are written for the wrong audience. They're written for the team, for leadership, for internal pride, for the fantasy version of the client. But the only person who matters is the evaluator holding the scoring pen. Compliance mapping is the discipline of tracing their needs and building a document that mirrors them back with surgical accuracy. It's not just a checklist. It's psychological architecture. A clean compliance map does three things. It reduces evaluator fatigue. They can find what they need without searching. It reduces perceived risk. Clear structure signals operational maturity. It reduces freedom. You quietly narrow the evaluator's options by making your path the easiest to approve. That third point is the one most people miss. Psychological infiltration through structure. If you want alignment, you can't rely on passion. You rely on layout. Because evaluators don't experience your proposal as a story. They experience it as a sequence of friction points. Every time they have to hunt for an answer, friction rises. When friction rises, doubt rises. When doubt rises, you lose. So you build a narrative that behaves like a weapon. Start with the requirement. Don't start with your company. Answer it directly. Don't orbit the point. Prove it with evidence. Don't promise. Close the loop. Don't leave gaps. When you do this consistently, the evaluator stops reading defensively. They start reading to confirm. That is infiltration, getting past the guard. The evaluator's hidden question. Every evaluator, no matter how technical, is driven by a simple fear. If I approve this and it fails, will it be my fault? Your narrative must remove blame exposure. That means you don't just show capability, you show control. Controls, not enthusiasm. Process, not personality. Proof, not adjectives. Defined roles, not vague teamwork. Verification steps, not "we will ensure." The darker truth is this: evaluators don't reward brilliance. They reward what they can defend. Give them language they can reuse in internal meetings. Give them sections they can point to. Give them clarity that protects them. Make your solution easy to justify. The three-layer narrative, the only one that wins. A technical narrative that passes consistently has three layers working at once. 1. The requirement layer. This is the visible surface. Compliance, specs. Yes, we meet it. No creativity, no ego, just precision. 2. The risk layer. This is the unspoken layer, what could go wrong and how you contain it. If you don't write this, the evaluator invents it, and their imagination will not be kind to you. 3. The control layer. This is the dominance layer. Governance, accountability, checkpoints, escalation paths. It tells the evaluator, even if chaos hits, we don't break. The best competitors aren't the ones with the best ideas. They're the ones with the best control mechanisms. The precision language rule. Weak proposals use soft language. We will strive to. We aim to. We intend to. That language is not humble. It's evasive, and evaluators can smell it. Strong proposals use control language. We will deliver X by Y using Z. We verify through A, B, C. Nonconformance triggers D within E hours. Escalation authority sits with F. This kind of language does something psychological. It makes the evaluator feel that failure has been pre-handled. And if failure has been pre-handled, approval feels safe. Raising the pass rate, the brutal fix. If you want to move beyond 79.1%, stop writing like you're trying to impress. Write like you're trying to eliminate doubt. A simple internal rule works. If a sentence doesn't reduce risk or increase clarity, cut it. Your narrative is not art. It's a clearance document. The goal is not applause. The goal is passage. The closing principle. Cognitive alignment is not persuasion. It's engineering. You build a path through the evaluator's mind that has no sharp turns, no blind corners, no missing stairs. And when they reach the end, the decision feels obvious. That is the art of technical narrative design. Not louder, not prettier, cleaner, sharper, harder to reject. Because the evaluator doesn't feel like they're choosing you. They feel like choosing anything else would be irresponsible. Chapter 3: Strategic Conversion, the Predator's Award Rate. A lot of people can compete. Far fewer can convert. Competition is noise. Conversion is extraction. And the number that exposes the truth is the award rate, 10.7%. That means roughly 9 out of 10 pursuits end the same way. Someone else gets paid, someone else gets the access, someone else gets to grow while you burn hours, headcount, and credibility. If you can't live with that reality, you don't belong in high-stakes environments. This chapter is not about motivation. It's about building the psychological hardware to hunt. The 10.7% reality. Most effort is a donation. At 10.7%, you are not running a polite business process. You are running a selection gauntlet. The market is not judging your effort. It's judging your inevitability. Most teams waste time because they treat every opportunity like it deserves hope. Hope is expensive. Hope makes people chase weak deals, tolerate ambiguity, and overinvest in rooms where the decision has already been made. Predators don't do that. They don't try harder. They screen, position, and convert. Competitive conversion. Staying dangerous under pressure. High-pressure environments don't break people with difficulty. They break people with repetition. The grind is designed to drain you. Long cycles, shifting requirements, silent stakeholders, meaningless meetings that feel like progress and produce nothing. Your real enemy is not the competitor across the table. It's fatigue. Fatigue makes you sloppy. Sloppiness makes you vague. Vagueness makes you ignorable. That's why conversion requires psychological stamina. Not hype, not positivity. Stamina. The ability to stay sharp after rejection, after delays, after false signals, after your best work gets ignored. Predator doesn't take it personally. They take notes. Solution clarity. The knife, not the sword. Most proposals fail because they swing too wide. They try to be everything. Innovative, comprehensive, visionary, unique. They stack features like armor, hoping thickness equals safety. It doesn't. Thickness makes it harder to score, harder to read, easier to dismiss. Solution clarity is the knife. It does three things. Names the problem without mercy. No euphemisms. No soft edges. You call the risk what it is. Defines the outcome in measurable terms. You don't promise value. You define it. You quantify it. You constrain it. Shows the path with minimal moving parts. Every extra dependency is another place to die. Clarity isn't kindness. It's dominance. It forces the evaluator's mind into a narrow corridor where your solution becomes the cleanest exit. Strategic positioning. Winning before the document exists. Awards are rarely decided on the final submission alone. The decision is shaped earlier, in assumptions, in relationships, in who controls the definition of success. Strategic positioning is the act of deciding where the battlefield is and forcing everyone else to fight there. You do that by controlling three things. 1. The frame. You define what matters. You decide what gets highlighted and what gets treated as noise. If you don't define the frame, your competitor will. And they will frame it in a way that makes you bleed. 2. The comparison. Evaluators don't choose the best solution. They choose the safest comparison. You don't want to be compared on volume, features, or promises. You want to be compared on control mechanisms, risk containment, speed to execution, proof of repeatability. 3. The default. Your goal is to become the default option, the one that feels like it was always meant to happen. When you reach default status, competitors aren't fighting you. They're fighting gravity. The predator's discipline. Cut the weak deals. This is where most people flinch. They chase everything because they're afraid of missing. That fear turns into a pipeline full of trash. Low probability, low margin, high effort. Predators protect their time because time is ammunition. They qualify ruthlessly. Do we have real access to the decision path? Do we understand the evaluation logic? Can we shape the requirements? Or are we walking into a sealed room? Is the budget real? Is the timeline real? Are we the intended winner or the convenient loser? If the answers are wrong, you don't give it a shot. You walk, not because you're lazy, because you're dangerous. The dark pattern, how markets punish neediness. Neediness leaks. It shows up as over-explaining, over-promising, discounting too early, chasing feedback that never arrives, flooding inboxes with updates no one asked for. Neediness tells the evaluator, "We need you more than you need us." That destroys positioning. Predator never appears desperate. They appear selective. Selective signals strength. Strength changes the psychology of the room. People want to award to the party that looks like they can survive without the award, because that party feels less risky. Conversion mechanics. Make no harder than yes. Your submission should not feel like a performance. It should feel like a decision tool. A good conversion package does not ask the evaluator to imagine success. It documents inevitability. You do it by building explicit acceptance criteria so success is definable, clear responsibilities so failure has no fog to hide in, risk register plus mitigations so fear is contained, schedule logic so time is controlled, not hoped for, proof points so claims don't float. The goal is simple: make yes feel defensible. Make no feel like unnecessary risk. Psychological warfare, endurance as a differentiator. At 10.7%, the teams that win are not always the smartest. They are the ones who stay sharp longer than everyone else. They keep their narrative clean when others panic. They maintain structure when others improvise. They respond with precision when others flood the room with noise. Endurance becomes a signal, and signals matter more than speeches. Closing principle: predators don't chase, they corner. Strategic conversion is not about chasing awards. It's about cornering the outcome. You build clarity that reduces doubt. You build positioning that controls comparison. You build stamina that keeps you lethal through repetition. And when the award rate stays brutal, you don't collapse into emotion. You tighten the system, because in the end, dominance isn't about winning once. It's about building a machine that wins often enough to own the cycle. Chapter 4: The Architecture of Control, Standardized Governance. Most teams don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they're fragmented. Different priorities, different vocabularies, different definitions of done. Everyone moving, nobody aligned. It looks like motion, but it's just internal noise. And noise is expensive. If you want dominance at scale, you don't rely on individual brilliance. You build governance. A system that forces order, forces accountability, and forces outcomes. Not inspiration, control. Structured governance, turning people into a single weapon. Governance is the difference between a group of capable individuals and a unit that can execute under pressure. The purpose is simple: one objective, one standard, one truth, one rhythm. Without that, you don't have a team, you have a crowd. Structured governance makes execution repeatable. Repeatable execution makes performance predictable. Predictable performance makes you difficult to replace. That's the chain. Standardization isn't bureaucracy, it's threat reduction. People hear standardized governance and think paperwork. That's amateur thinking. Standardization is not about making things slower. It's about removing the exact conditions where failure grows. Unclear ownership, hidden dependencies, silent delays, inconsistent decision logic. Meetings that produce nothing except false comfort. When you standardize, you reduce the room for excuses. And excuses are where timelines die. Redesigned workflows, killing the old habits. Old workflows are usually built around personalities. Who knows what? Who approves what? Who usually handles it? That works until someone leaves, gets sick, or gets busy. Then the whole system starts limping. Redesigned workflows are built around functions, not individuals. They answer 5 questions with 0 ambiguity. What happens first? Who owns it? What is the output? Who validates it? What triggers escalation? If you can't answer those 5 questions, you don't have a workflow. You have a gamble. Cross-functional collaboration. Alignment or controlled conflict. Cross-functional work sounds friendly on slides. In reality, it's a battlefield. Different departments protect their territory. They hoard information. They delay decisions. They quietly sabotage priorities that don't serve them. That's not culture. That's biology. So the psychology of cross-functional collaboration isn't about harmony. It's about controlled conflict. You create a structure where conflict is forced into the open early, resolved fast, and documented permanently. Because hidden conflict doesn't disappear. It waits. Then it explodes at the worst possible time. Late-stage delivery. The control stack, the 3 layers of governance. High-performing governance is not a weekly meeting and a shared spreadsheet. It is a control stack with layers. 1 command layer. This is where decisions live. Clear authority. Fast escalation. No committee paralysis. If decisions can't be made quickly, execution collapses. You don't need more discussion. You need a stronger command layer. 2 operating layer. This is where work moves. Standard templates. defined handoffs, consistent review gates, visible dependencies. Operating layer discipline is what keeps the machine running when pressure rises. 3. Proof layer. This is where reality is enforced. Metrics, audit trails, evidence packages, acceptance criteria. If you can't prove progress, you don't have progress. You have stories, and stories don't ship. The meeting as a weapon. Most meetings are emotional waste disposal. They exist so people can feel involved while avoiding accountability. Governance meetings are different. They are designed to produce only 3 outcomes: a decision, commitment, and escalation. No outcome, no meeting. If a meeting ends without ownership and a date, it didn't happen. It was theater. And theater is how weak organizations stay weak. Psychological ownership. Making accountability non-negotiable. Accountability fails when it's vague, so you make it sharp. Ownership must be singular, one name, not a group. Measurable, clear output. Time-bound, clear date. Visible, everyone can see it. When ownership is visible, people behave differently. Not because they suddenly became disciplined, but because social exposure triggers self-preservation. That's the psychology. You don't argue people into accountability. You design the environment so accountability is the safest option. Synchronization. One rhythm, no freelancing. The goal of governance is synchronization. When units move on different rhythms, you get duplicated effort, conflicting versions of truth, late surprises, rework disguised as iteration. Synchronization means everyone runs on the same cadence, same reporting cycle, same definition of complete, same risk vocabulary, same escalation triggers. This is how you turn multiple units into one body, one nervous system, one reaction time, the quiet dominance of control. Here's what governance really buys you. It makes you unshakable in environments that break other teams. When chaos hits, undisciplined organizations start improvising. Improvisation creates inconsistency. Inconsistency creates delays. Delays create blame. Governed organizations do something colder. They execute the process. They surface risks. They route decisions. They maintain rhythm. They remove emotion from operations. And when competitors are drowning in their own internal noise, your stability becomes a visible advantage. Not because you're better, because you're built. Closing principle. Standardized governance is not optional when you want dominance. It is the architecture of control. It aligns stakeholders under one objective. It forces clarity where people prefer fog. It turns cross-functional friction into forward motion. It converts chaos into predictable output. And the darker truth is this: when governance is strong, people stop being allowed to fail quietly. They either perform or they get exposed. That exposure is not cruelty, it's precision. And precision is what wins. Chapter 5: Calculated Aggression. Scaling through execution. Aggression gets misunderstood. People think it's volume, loudness, pressure, constant motion. That's amateur aggression. It burns resources and attracts attention before you're ready to strike. Calculated aggression is different. It's quiet. It's disciplined. It's patient until it isn't. And when it moves with a purpose: to accelerate financial outcomes through execution that doesn't break. This is where the machine stops proving itself and starts expanding. This is the psychology behind financial acceleration and the 30% profit growth trigger. Financial acceleration. The 30% trigger isn't magic. A 30% profit increase in a single cycle isn't a miracle. It's a result of 3 things happening at once: faster acquisition, more work coming in; cleaner delivery, less waste going out; tighter control, less leakage in the middle. Most teams chase growth by chasing more deals. That's the easy part. The hard part is scaling without losing discipline. Because the moment discipline slips, profit evaporates. Rework expands. Quality drops. Clients sense weakness. Competitors smell blood. Acceleration only works if execution stays sharp while volume increases. That's why this chapter is called Calculated Aggression. You don't scale with chaos. You scale by keeping control while you speed up. The acceleration phase, when you stop negotiating with time. Acceleration phase is a behavioral shift. You stop treating time like something you manage. You treat time like something you take back. That means shorter internal decision cycles, fewer approval layers, clearer roles, faster escalation, zero tolerance for stalled tasks. The dark truth is that most delay is not complexity, it's cowardice. People delay because decisions create accountability. They hide behind meetings and alignment because it spreads blame. Acceleration requires the opposite. Decisions get made. Owners get named. Dates get locked. Work moves. Not because it's comfortable. Because comfort is the tax you pay for mediocrity. Execution momentum, the force that makes competitors miss. Execution momentum is not working harder. It's the compounding effect of speed plus reliability. When you build a rhythm that doesn't break, momentum starts doing the heavy lifting. Sales cycles shorten because your reputation reduces risk. Stakeholders respond faster because your asks are precise. Teams move cleaner because the workflow is already controlled. Clients lean in because delivery feels inevitable. Momentum makes the market treat you differently. Competitors become reactive. They start copying your moves instead of shaping their own. They waste time trying to match your pace while you're already moving to the next target. Momentum turns growth into something that feels unfair. And unfair is the point. The aggression filter, where you push and where you don't. Calculated aggression has a rule. Only push where control is strong. If you push on weak foundations, you don't accelerate. You collapse. So you apply pressure selectively. Push on. Deals where you can shape the frame. Clients with budget and urgency. Delivery types you can repeat with low variance. Scopes with clear acceptance criteria. Don't push on. Vague opportunities. Committees with no authority. Custom work that requires reinvention. Clients who buy on price and punish on change. Aggression without filters is self-harm. Aggression with filters is dominance. Scaling acquisition without diluting quality. When acquisition scales, quality usually drops. Because growth increases surface area. More stakeholders. More documents. More deliverables. More places for failure to hide. So the predator scales with repeatable units, not heroic effort. You build acquisition like a production line. Standard opportunity qualification. Reusable narrative modules. Pre-built compliance artifacts. Templated pricing logic. Defined review checkpoints. This is why governance from Chapter 4 matters. Without governance, scaling just multiplies your weaknesses. With governance, scaling multiplies your strengths. The profit leak map, where the money disappears. The biggest profit killers aren't dramatic. They're quiet, scope drift, unclear requirements, late-stage rework, internal handoff errors, slow approvals, quick favors that become permanent obligations. Most organizations don't track these leaks because they're embarrassing. They make leadership look soft. They expose that the machine is not a machine. Calculated aggression requires brutality here. You map profit leaks. You name them. You eliminate them. Not through speeches, through rules. Change control that actually controls change. Acceptance gates that stop garbage from moving forward. Escalation triggers that prevent silent delays. Postmortems that cut deep, not politely. If you can't stop leakage, acceleration is fantasy. Psychological discipline. Staying cold while you grow. Growth creates intoxication. More deals. More attention. More activity. People start taking shortcuts because they believe momentum will carry them. That's when the fall happens. Calculated aggression demands a colder mindset. You don't celebrate activity. You measure conversion. You don't reward late-night heroics. You punish broken process. You don't scale effort. You scale systems, because effort doesn't scale. Systems do. The dominance cycle: acquire, deliver, prove, expand. This is the loop that creates sustainable acceleration. Acquire work you can control. Deliver with disciplined reliability. Prove outcomes with evidence, not stories. Expand by reinvesting momentum into the next capture. Each loop tightens your reputation and widens your leverage. Your competitors often stall at step 2. They acquire and then struggle. They promise and then improvise. The market learns not to trust them. You do the opposite. You create a pattern so consistent it becomes a threat. Closing principle: calculated aggression is not rage. It's precision under pressure. You scale by pushing harder only where the machine is strong. You accelerate by shortening cycles without losing control. You grow profit by eliminating leaks and refusing sloppy execution. And when the cycle hits, when speed increases, when opportunity starts stacking, you don't get emotional. You get sharper. Because acceleration is not a moment. It's a phase where weak operators break and disciplined operators take territory. Chapter 6: Manufacturing Confidence. The preparation paradigm. Confidence is sold like a personality trait. Like some people are born with it and others aren't. That's a lie that keeps weak operators comfortable, because it gives them an excuse to stay unprepared and call it being authentic. Real confidence is manufactured. It's built in ugly hours when nobody is watching. It's built in checklists, rehearsals, red team reviews, and contingency planning. It's built by removing unknowns until the room has nothing left to threaten you with. Preparation isn't a preference. It's armor, and armor changes behavior. Preparation creates confidence, the psychological truth. Confidence isn't believing in yourself. That's fragile. Pressure crushes belief. Confidence is knowing where the traps are and walking in anyway because you already built the exits. When you prepare deeply, your nervous system stops improvising. You don't spike when challenged. You don't rush to fill silence. You don't negotiate with fear. You become steady. And steadiness is persuasive. Not because it's friendly, because it signals control. The preparation paradigm: turning uncertainty into a controlled environment. Opportunities are dangerous because they contain uncertainty. Hidden stakeholders, silent objections, technical landmines, pricing traps, compliance gaps, timeline ambushes. Most people walk in hoping their intelligence will save them. It won't. The market doesn't reward cleverness under pressure. It rewards preparation that prevents pressure from forming in the first place. The preparation paradigm is simple. You don't enter the arena until the arena feels smaller. You shrink it by mapping everything that could hurt you. The confidence stack: 3 levels. 1. Surface confidence. This is posture, delivery, smooth talking. It works until the first real question. 2. Functional confidence. This is knowing your solution, your numbers, your process. It holds under normal pressure. 3. Manufactured confidence. This is the final form. You've already tested the weaknesses. You've already built responses. You've already rehearsed the ugly scenarios. Manufactured confidence doesn't crumble because it isn't emotional. It's structural. Blueprint work. The groundwork that wins awards. When the goal is awarded value, preparation becomes a blueprint, not a mood. A real blueprint includes requirement dissection: what they said, what they meant, what they avoided saying. Compliance matrix: every requirement mapped to a specific response and proof. Assumption control: what you assume, why, and what happens if it's wrong. Risk register: threats, probability, impact, mitigation. Owner: delivery plan, sequence, milestones, dates, verification. Evidence package: past performance, metrics, artifacts, references. Red team review. Someone tries to kill your proposal on purpose. Most teams do 2 of these and call it preparation. Then they act surprised when they lose. Red team mentality. Attack yourself before the market does. If you don't attack your own work, the evaluator will. And the evaluator has no mercy and no loyalty. Red teaming is controlled paranoia. What's the fastest reason to reject us? Where are we vague? What claim lacks evidence? What looks expensive, risky, slow, or uncertain? What would a competitor highlight to make us look unstable? You answer those questions before the room ever gets to ask them. That is manufacturing confidence, removing the power of surprise. Rehearsal as psychological conditioning. Preparation isn't just documents. It's rehearsal, because the body responds to pressure faster than the mind does. If you only prepare intellectually, your mouth still stutters when challenged, your tone changes, your pacing breaks. People hear that, and they smell uncertainty even if your content is correct. So you rehearse like it matters. Hostile questions, interruptions, time compression, executive summaries with no slides. Explain it to a skeptic drills. Not to sound polished, to stay steady. Steady makes you look inevitable. The dark advantage: prepared people don't beg. When you're prepared, you don't chase approval. You present a controlled package. You don't overtalk. You don't overpromise. You don't discount early. You don't panic when they go silent, because you already know the angles, and you already built the counters. The unprepared operator becomes needy. They start negotiating against themselves. They offer extras. They flood the room with words. Prepared operators do the opposite. They let silence work. They let structure speak. They force the evaluator to deal with the fact that the safest option is sitting right in front of them, turning preparation into awarded value. Here's how preparation converts into awards. It lowers evaluator effort, easy to score. It lowers perceived risk, easy to defend. It increases perceived control, easy to trust. It reduces competitor oxygen, hard to differentiate against. Awards go to what feels safest to approve. Preparation makes you feel safe. Not friendly safe, operationally safe. Closing principle. Confidence isn't a gift. It's the byproduct of violence against uncertainty. You don't feel ready. You build ready. You prepare until surprise has no room to live. You rehearse until pressure can't change your rhythm. You document until claims become evidence. That's the preparation paradigm. And that's how you manufacture confidence that doesn't flinch when the room turns hostile.